Hello and welcome to another educational video about screen printing by Catspit Productions. This is a really special video, and I know I say that every now and then, but this is a fun and experimental video. A lot of you have asked for a video on paper stencils and how you can screen print with paper stencils. So what I'm going to demonstrate today is how screen printing is a stenciling process. Okay, and I'm going to show you some different types of stencils, like paper stencils that you can buy, like this one. Okay, and then I taped it together to make Catspit. So you can find paper stencils, letters like this at art supplies, Michaels, and even Staples has them. And also, you can actually either buy pre-made stencils, or you can cut your own out of a little bit of a heavy gauge waxy type paper would be best. But you can see here I have a few stencils. These are pre-made, purchased. I got these from Michaels. These are some leaves, okay? Here's a couple here. These are plastic stencils, okay? So here's a little flower. All right, and then we have some cool ones like a leaf. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can use these stencils to actually screen print. Okay, and like I said, they could be paper stencils. These happen to be pre-made, purchased plastic stencils, but you could certainly cut your own stencil. And actually, stencil cutting is a pretty sophisticated thing. A lot of people, you can find videos of a lot of people doing it on YouTube, and some of them are really good at it. Okay, so for instance, like one of these plastic stencils, you see, I just taped the screen off. There's no emulsion on the screen, nothing. I just taped it off and then taped the stencil on there. And I'm going to show you how that will print, okay? And then I'm going to show you a couple other ways, like paper stencil. Here's some paper objects and letters that I have. So I can actually create a stencil on the screen, a blank screen, with some of these things that I have here, little shapes and designs. And a lot of these will end up creating negative spaces and negative designs, but the demonstration is to show you how screen printing is a very basic stenciling process. So like I said, you can use found objects like these, borders, all kinds of paper borders or different kinds of things that can be plastic. And we'll even do an experiment with a little bit of this confetti that I have here that has some little shapes and stars in it, and I'll show you that, found objects can actually be used as well, So, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up each screen. We'll do like 4 different screens, and I'll set them up and tape my little paper stencils and things together, except for this one. This one we're going to do differently, the confetti type stuff. But we're going to, I'll set up some of the screens, and then I'll show you each screen close up and explain a little bit how I did it before I print with it. And today, I'm just going to be using Plastisol ink, and I'm going to be printing on some construction paper. And I'm just going to send it through the dryer to cure it. But ideally, you would probably, if you're printing t-shirts, that's fine, use Plastisol ink. If you're printing paper and posters, you would want to use an air dry poster ink. But just for today, for demonstrative purposes, to make it easy for me, I'm going to print on construction paper with a Plastisol ink and just send it through the oven just to make it so it's not wet, okay? And they'll be garbage, they're just test prints just to show the process. All right, so let me set up some screens and let's get started with some experimentation and show you how screen printing is a very basic stenciling process. All right, so here we have the plastic stencil, and all I did with the plastic stencil was I taped it to the screen, okay? Now, you could use a little spray tack actually on one side of the stencil so that it will stick to the screen, but once you ink this up and spread a little ink over it, the plastic stencil will want to stick to the screen anyway. So, and that's the same thing with the paper stencil. Okay, so this one's pretty simple. Stencil, plastic stencil, paper stencil. It's just taped to an open 110 mesh screen. All right, now so I have my I'm using a pretty thin gray Plastisol. Like I said, we're just doing this for demonstrative purposes. So these are just little test prints to show you how it works. The first one we have here is the plastic stencil, and I have a green piece of paper down here, and it's just spray tacked slightly to the palette, okay? And I don't have it centered or lined up or anything like that, okay? So, and remember, this could be a paper stencil, all right? So basically, it's going to be the same thing that I do all the time. Okay? Now, with this stencil, you're going to have to push pretty hard to get it to clear out, because it's so thick. Because it's, you know, so the thinner the paper stencil is, the probably, you know, the easier it will be for you to print something. You see, because look how, especially with the Plastisol ink, you might even be able to see how it builds up. Okay, so a paper stencil that will be a little bit thinner will give you, you know, with like a water-based ink, especially on this paper, will give you a much thinner print. Okay, so remember that. This is just to demonstrate the process. All right. All right, this one's also, you know, we have a paper stencil up here. There's a paper stencil here, but it's a negative. So for these little thin pieces of paper, I had to use a little spray tack to get them to stick so that I can make the print, all right? And these were actually kind of like sticky notes, so they had a little glue on the back, so I used a little talcum powder to make it so it wouldn't stick to the paper. This is a paper stencil that I taped together, and I just taped it onto the screen. This one is a little thick, and we'll see, you know, how it works. I did use a little spray tack on the back of it, but it's not sticking all that well, so we'll see. This one here could leave a lot of ink down, so I'm not sure exactly how that one will print, but we'll try it. This is an experiment with paper stencils. All right, so here's the other two paper stencils. This one will probably work pretty well. This one here, you know, because it's thick, again, it's going to be hard to clear out. So let's try it. Let's see what happens. Yep, that one's, you can see towards the edges, that one's really hard to clear. Okay, so the thinner the stencil, the easier it will be, for sure. Okay, like that. I mean, that was perfect. All right, so let's take a look. We can take a look at the prints. The thicker stencil versus a nice thin one. It's a huge difference. I mean, that's really kind of cool, ain't it? This one here, with the stencils that I bought, is just kind of a little too thick. So that one didn't work out so good. So you want to, you know, however, you could use those to redraw. You could actually buy those stencils and then redraw them on your heavy paper and cut a thinner stencil, because it gives you the pattern at least for the letters. All right, so here is the other paper stencil, and these were kind of the same thing. They were kind of like sticky notepads, so I used a little spray tack on the front side and then a little talcum powder on the back to make the sticky part not stick. And the reason I did that is because I wanted them to be the correct way they're supposed to face, the way they made them, you know, rather than sticking this side to the screen. So I used them all, you know, the way they would actually be in a positive respect, you know, so that when they print, they're all look the proper way. Okay, so again, this one we just taped off the area, and then I kind of was, you know, just put this together. As you can see, this would be a cool project for kids at school and stuff like that, to be able to make this, and then you can screen print it, and I'm going to show you how that works. All right, so now we have this other paper stencil one with nice thin pieces of paper, so that's good, should work out well. Okay, there it is, cool. All right, so for this last one, I just used a little paper and made a square opening with the tape. And this is the one that I'm going to use the confetti on to experiment with, and you'll see what I'm doing there. And I made it small because this kind of technique might actually be cool for making like greeting cards or something like that, using found objects and making each card unique. Okay, so you'll get this when we actually print it. You'll see what's happening here. Okay. All right, so here's the last experiment we're going to do for today, and it's just an open piece of mesh. Remember, just the square. And what we're going to do is I'm using this confetti stuff that I have, and I'm just going to take some of this stuff and put it in the print area. All right, this is total experimentation. We can get some of the star shapes in there. You know, this is something that might be good for, I don't know, this. I thought this kind of would be cool for making cards and stuff. So now I can kind of see, take a look and see what I'm doing there. All right, and kind of align it. I'm trying to get it arranged in my situation here. You see that? All right, and this is just total, total experiment. So we'll see. A lot of this stuff is going to pick up and stick to the screen, but some of it might fall onto the print. I don't know. So we're just going to give it a shot and see what happens. All right. Probably, actually, that's a good point. If I reduce the layers, if I try to thin it out and reduce the layers, then most of it will stick, and we won't have it dropping onto the print, which is probably what we want, right? Okay, so I'm going to try to get it so that that's what it'll do. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Let's try that. Let's just try it and see what happens, okay? And there you go. See how they stuck to the screen? And there it is. Pretty cool. All right, so that's it. A few quick experiments with stenciling on open mesh. With paper, plastic stencils, found objects, and other stuff like that. It's pretty cool. You can experiment at home, as you can see I did here today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I had a lot of fun doing it. And I think the 2 tips that I could give you in using paper stencils or stencils, found objects, are that, first of all, the thinner the objects are, the easier it will be for you to clear ink out of the screen. So thinner paper stencils and thinner stencils are going to work a lot easier for you as compared to a thick stencil like this one was, which was very difficult to get the ink to flow through. And that brings me to the second tip I would give you, is that, of course, Plastisol ink will be more difficult to push through a thicker paper stencil than water-based ink. Okay? So that's it for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. Make sure you stop by the catspitproductionsllc.com website. There's a ton more information about screen printing at home there for you to check out. It's all available free, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there are also some offers on the website from me to you to help you guys out in your screen printing endeavors. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate you guys checking out my videos. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below or message me through YouTube or the Contact Us form on the website. Thanks for watching. And if you like what you see, rate, thumbs up, and please subscribe.